Hello and welcome to Bharat I'm Brigadier Chatterjee. We'll be talking about our neighborhood countries once again today. In this series, we've already talked about Bangladesh, we've talked about Afghanistan, Indonesia, Nepal, Bhutan. Today it's going to be Pakistan, a country very interesting for us and of interest to the entire region, if not the world. To put us through the whole details of Pakistan, I have with me a gentleman who's had enough experience in Pakistan, General Arvind Bhatia. Welcome, General Bhatia. Well, you had in fact 3 tenures abroad as much as I know, and one of them is Pakistan. And that's the reason I really requested you to join us. If I may put across my first issue, and the first issue is about Pakistan in general. What is the status today? How is the military? What is the politics like? Well, how do you see the elections going? All that you can give us as a small bit of a backgrounder about Pakistan.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the invite, and I'm really honored to be here on this program. I was in Pakistan as the Defence Attaché from April of 2015 to September end of 2017. And that is the time when the surgical strikes happened. And so we went and through the entire gamut of the worsening of relationships which happened there. There was a time when there used to be trade happening. There used to be Aman Ki Asha happening. There were bus journeys taking place. Jathas, Sikh Jathas used to go to Panja Sahib. Of course, the other corridor had not yet opened. So various of these kind of friendly kind of gestures were there. Myra Khan was coming to India to work with Shah Rukh Khan. The cricketers used to be coming to be part of the coaching or the commentary teams in the IPL. So all these things were happening while there was a red hot kind of a line of control. There were people strikes taking place where they were beheading our soldiers. All that was happening. So that was a very, very kind of a trying relationship and trying times when I was in Islamabad. And slowly but surely, one could see that if Pakistanis during that time were scared of some people, it was 3 people who they were scared of. The first, of course, was our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi. The second was, of course, the NSA, Mr. Doval. And the third was, of course, the Chief of Army Staff, then General Rawat. And that was the kind of backdrop where I gathered a lot of inputs of what Pakistan means for us as a neighbor and what Pakistan feels of us as a neighbor. What was earlier enmity was soon turning to jealousy and deep hatred as I saw it happening. Of course, at the surface, things were quite okay. These civilians whom we used to meet and all used to be very friendly initially. But you dig a little deeper and the animosity, the kind of radical views or the ideology used to seep in, and one saw that Pakistan was getting more and more into that radical kind of a state. A rentier state it always was, a failing state it always was, but more radicalized ideology as the convents closed down, as the Westerners' footprints got reduced, as more dogmatic, or the mullah or the madrasas overtook the importance from the military by sheer kind of conduct. So all these things happened in front of my eyes, and I could make out that Pakistan is going down south, and if it continues like that, it would go to the breakup, amount to a breakup. Now coming to your question about the elections, which you all know that it has a very fractured kind of a democracy because of lack of ideology. Of democracy after Jinnah was hardly there. And there was a kind of a political vacuum which happened after Jinnah passed away. And it happened too early while Pakistan was very young. And this vacuum was filled by this military. And since then, till as late as, I would say, Musharraf, the military continued to actively interfere into the political space. And because of that, the establishment actually were the real rulers. Things changed a little post Musharraf from 2008 onwards, where the Kiani doctrine came into being, that let us not get actively involved, but let's become kingmakers rather than kings. So the military actually took a step back, not in the control of the state, but in the visible kind of footprint which they wanted to project in the political.
They pull the reins from the
Yes.
back.
So let them be kingmakers. Let us not have the accountability or the responsibility, but be able to twist the shape, be it the foreign policy, be it the economy. So I would say that both the armies, when they separated, had the same kind of a DNA. But very soon or progressively, especially under General Zia and little later, it converted into a kind of a medieval Arabian kind of a dogmatic kind of a philosophy. It changed its kind of a motto also, where piety and Allah became more supreme than discipline and duty kind of a thing. And also because of its forays into the business, it got a mentality of the erstwhile East India Company. So though both had, I would say, roots of the British Indian military, we continued to be a professional army where they adopted, I think, progressively, but also with a kind of a not unknowingly, but knowingly adopted the what the East India Company, that greed, that contempt, that kind of a grabbing that came in, and that is visible. Pakistan Army, armed forces, but especially the army, are the biggest landholders. The DHAs, the 30 kilometer of ocean front in Karachi is held by or controlled by the Corps Commander in Karachi. And similarly, there are DHAs and various places. Rahil Sharif was given almost 99 acres of land. Musharraf was given 100 acres of land. John Bajwa would have also been given this kind of land. And all those who retire, even from a Jawan to a general, have a piece of land or a flat allocated to them. So besides being the biggest landholders, they make jams, they make cakes, they make bread, they make cement, they make pharmaceuticals, they sell tomatoes, you name it, and they do it.
More commercial, I would say, than a military.
Much more commercial and much more radicalized and less westernized now.
But tell me about the elections, really.
Elections.
Which are the parties which are going to come in and...
Elections are going to happen on the 8th of February for the National Assembly and the 11th of February for the Provincial Assembly. Now, on ground, there are already kind of indications that it may get stalled. So, of course, the Supreme Court has given a ruling that the delimitation exercise which is on, we'll not tinker with it, we'll do nothing, so that the process does not get further delayed. It was to happen in January, it was earlier to happen in October this year, but then January, and then now the dates are formed in 8th and 11th of February. Now, on ground, because the delimitation has just got over, even the candidates have not been nominated by any of the major parties also, be it the PPP, be it the PMLL or the PTI. The most affected is the PTI, which rules both KPK and Punjab presently. But the fact is that it is a one-man, I would say, party with Imran Khan in jail and both his number twos, be it Parvez Ilahi or Qureshi, the foreign erstwhile foreign minister, both being in jail. The core group cannot function. And that is why also after the May 9th kind of a mayhem which happened where a lot of protests took place and a lot of property was damaged, the police and the establishment have got after the PTI. So most of their leaders are either in jail or they are hiding. In fact, today also in the news, it indicated that 8 PTI leaders, they have been declared as proclaimed offenders as they are in hiding because of the 9th May kind of a episode. So the fact is, on ground, though the PTI has shown a kind of a virtual jalsa, which happened on 17th of September. Also, there is AI is being used, technology, to have a speech of Imran Khan put on the social media. But the fact is that On ground, there are hardly any visible activities of campaigning, actual campaigning, which is happening in Punjab. Now, you must remember that Pakistan is Punjab per se. 50% of the seats of the National Assembly come from here. It is the most populous, most prosperous, and this is where they are anyone who wins Punjab actually controls or tries to control Pakistan. Now with Punjab, the equation is changing. The groundswell was with Imran Khan. But with the coming back of Nawaz Sharif on 21st of October, things are changing. He has tested waters. I think he had the management's kind of hand on him when he made that statement that Pakistan can only progress if we have the
relations with
neighbors. And he hinted at, not only hinted at India, he named India.
He named it.
Now, earlier he was put behind bars or he went foul with the establishment because of these things only. Twice it happened, corruption charges or whatever gets framed. But that was his pro-India kind of a stance. But now things have changed a little. Bajwa was vocally very, very pro-India. He not pro-India, but he wanted better relations with India. But he was the chief when Pakistan was still functional. It is dysfunctional now. So Munir has a bigger thing at hand. But let's restrict ourselves to the elections. Now what has happened, PMLN has to take back the space which it ceded to
PTI.
Imran Khan and PTI because of the last 4 years Nawaz Sharif having been there. So that action is going to happen and take place. And seeing the kind of groundswell which happened on 21st of October to receive Nawaz Sharif, he is quite emboldened that he will be able to take back the space from there. And with that tacit hand of the establishment on his head, the PPP is feeling a little marginal.
Right. My question there is, you see, like you said, the Pakistani army would be controlling. They have been controlling so far. Let's say there's no change really in their major objective. Who is the favorite as far as the Pakistani army is concerned amongst this kind of leadership that we have?
Favorite, definitely, though PPP has named Bilawal as their prime minister kind of candidate. PTI has no one. That barrister Gohar Khan, who has been nominated as to head the PTI, has no political standing per se. There is no core leadership to get PTI social media craze transferred or converted to ballots. So PMLN under Nawaz is the one who has the hand of the establishment, and he is the likely candidate for the prime minister. All the processes, all the appeals which they have made to court, all those restrictions which were making him not able to stand for elections, they are gradually being sidelined. And definitely, he is the one. Two things will now happen. Will he get an absolute kind of a majority and then kind of a dictate terms to the establishment or discuss with the establishment on an equal footing? Or he will have to take help of other friends, the PPP, other regional religious kind of parties. I think the better would be for the establishment to control him more, that he doesn't get a kind of absolute kind of a thing.
So they'll want a little bit of a flux always being there in terms of power sharing on top.
But on ground, because of economic woes, because of local issues, because of the security situation, the TTP largely controls KPK. It also in 2013, if you look at the elections, a lot of political leaders were killed, assassinated by TTP. So there is scare amongst the kind of political leadership also to openly start conversing. So that kind of a thing on ground, people are still looking for their atta, for their dal, how to control that 37% or 40% of inflation, how to make ends meet. That is what the commoner is looking at. No one is looking at the elections per se as yet, and there are hardly 2 months left. One is that. Second is that because of that radical factor and that Arab-Israel war going, there is a lot of still kind of a religious kind of a thing happening that against Jews, against the West. So India has got a little to the sideline, and when you come later, we'll talk about these killings which are happening. Namalum Afrad have started targeting a lot of militant organizations, operatives who worked or operated against India. So that India, otherwise it would have gained a lot of prominence. It is not gaining prominence because of the economics, because of the security situation, because of the Israel-Hamas war, that kind of thing, which is happening. So on ground, not yet any kind of a political thing happening, but once the nomination and selection of candidates takes place, maybe there will be some more traction.
Okay, then let's go out of the domestic ambit and let's go on to a little bit of a regional ambit. And for Pakistan, Afghanistan is very important. For Afghanistan, Pakistan is very important. How's the relationship now, especially when Pakistan says that it'll push back more than 1 million, 1.5 million across the Durand line? Where does it stand now? How do you see it progressing?
You see, one must, if you go back into history, it's about 1,260 kilometers. The Durand line got only accepted or recognized officially by Afghanistan in the late 70s, I think around 1976 or something. They have 8 official trade points and border crossings. 2 of them are fed by national highways from Pakistan into Afghanistan. One is National Highway 5, the other is 25, and the two of these crossings are Chaman and Jorkha. One is in Balochistan, one is in KPK. While there are other 6 more, but there are 262 unofficial and other crossing points. So it is a very porous border.
Absolutely porous border.
It is porous. And in any case, if you recollect in the late 90s, when the Pashtun movement had taken place and the Brits were trying to just talk about independence and all that thing was happening, the Afghani Pashtuns had said, given only 2 options to the Brits. They had requested either Pashtunistan or wherever the land of the Pashtun should
go to
Afghanistan, or it should be an independent state. Pakistan was nowhere in picture. So largely what it is now with Taliban coming to power from August 2021, what Pakistan was seeking as greater strategic space in Afghanistan, I think it is Afghanistan which is seeking greater strategic space in Pakistan because of 2-3 things. The role has reversed. You see, they are not able to rein in the TTP. Whatever brokered truce from the Afghan Taliban has happened, it doesn't work. In 2022, it worked for 5 months. The latest one worked only for 1 month. So TTP demands are very clear. Impose Sharia or their version of Sharia in Pakistan. Second, demerge the FATA region with KPK. Both these demands cannot be met because FATA got merged with KPK only in 2018 by the 25th Amendment which took place. So both these things are not going to happen. Economic woes are so much that only 47% of the working population of Pakistan is actually employed. The rest is seeking employment through what? Through drugs, through smuggling, through gun running, through law and order, these kind of mafias, through, I would say, recruitment by the terrorist organizations.
Let's talk about the terrorist organizations in Pakistan, which are some of the major terrorist groups, and what is their status right now?
There are, if you name it, I had in an earlier interview also said that 99% of all terrorist organizations in the world is having a kind of
presence there.
Thing. And the epicenter, not only once but repeatedly. Our foreign minister may not name Pakistan, but he alludes to that remains the epicenter of terrorism, and the world now notices. Now the same snake has gone, the snake with this wand is biting them. Now everyone has realized, the Americans are still not taking it that way, but they have realized this double game which Pakistan was playing, that they were hunting with the hounds while running with the hare. They were playing a kind of a double game with TTP also, or the Taliban also, giving bases and all support, logistical, I would say, passage to all the stuff which was to come for USA or the NATO forces through their countries, giving them bases, Peshawar and where it's other places, while also helping the Taliban in throwing out the USA. So this double game has come to haunt them. And there are, you name it, there'll be, if you start naming each and every place, you find there is a TTP or there is a BLA, there is a BRA. So there is terrorist organizations galore in Balochistan. There are hundreds of terrorist organizations. Loosely, there are some anti-TTP also, but they are then Wahid group, some other Jubair group, these kind of things. But largely it is the TTP which rules bulk of KPK and northern Balochistan, and the writ of the terrorist organizations in Balochistan, or I would say the militant organizations in Balochistan, rule much of the Balochistan, which is part of aligned along with the Sistan Balochistan.
Let's go further, little further on that issue. The Pakistani terrorist leadership, a lot of them are getting shot up in the last couple of months. Now, this is perhaps an interesting story to be looking at from this side of the border. What's really happening?
You see, Pakistan, no one knows what actually happens in Pakistan. But there are three hypotheses to this. Because the last, you see, on August 21 onwards, more than 3,000 Pakistanis have been killed by the TTP or its associates. There are almost 45 attacks every month against their either political leadership, or they got into Peshawar, they got into the police lines masjid where they blew it up in January. As late as I think December last week, when they went into Dera Ismail Khan and blew up a truck laden with explosives. But the fact is, coming back to how many terrorist leaders or associates have been killed. Last 1 year or so, almost 20. Few of them are of the Khalistan, and most of them are either Al-Badr or Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed or Hizbul Mujahideen, affiliated to Masood Azhar or the top, not the top leadership, but the number 2 or the second rung. And all of them have footprints, whether it was the Sanjuan attack, or if it was the Pathankot airfield attack, or if it was the IC-814 kidnapping, or it was some links with the Mumbai attacks. So all that the ISI seems to have given a written instruction to these militant, anti-India militant organization leaders that stop using Android phones. Because they say that RAW or India has got now the software, whether they are alluding to our friendship and things which are happening with the US and Israel, or they are scared of something else. But they are now saying that they are able to track your movements. So please don't refrain from using Android phones and hide your footprints. So if they are, this kind of a direction is going on. So the hypotheses are three. One is that ISI is doing it themselves under pressure from US or various other sources to clean up the act. Under pressure, they will not do it otherwise. The other is that the Indian hand is there. And the third is that US indirectly wants them to clean up the act if they want them to be used to rein in the TTP or the IS Khurasan.
Let me just ask you one more question on that issue. The Pakistani government, has it raised any, has it pointed a finger towards us?
Not really. The media has also been muted. But the fact is that the military and the ISI and what is coming into the social media all talks of an Indian hand. And I won't be surprised, you see. And this is the time when this India is a different India. We are a strong nation. We need to punch much above our weight, if not at our weight, much above our weight. If Mossad can do it, if CIA can do it, if MI6 can do it, why can't RAW do it? And it doesn't require too many things. It requires 4 or 5 things. It requires intent, that you want to, because enough is enough. It requires bag full of money. There's no dearth of money with us now. And they don't have money because of the demonetization, because of that counterfeit currency or FICN which they were using so much in Pakistan and Bangladesh. That tap has been squeezed. They don't have that kind of money. We have now the money, the growing cloud. And it requires, so with intent and the money, it requires just intelligence. Intelligence could be through the telecom, it could be use of technology, it could be use of like interception, various. And if you have these 3 things and a political backing, then why can't we?
Right, we'll leave it there.
And why shouldn't we do it?
We'll leave it there. That's a very interesting suggestion that you've given, but let's leave it there. We'll go forward a bit. Article 370 and the recent Supreme Court ruling. Plus, on ground in J&K, it seems to be more and more an acceptable kind of a format. Now, keep that in view and tell me how will the Pakistanis react to it. I'm not talking about normal border skirmishes that go on. Anything bigger.
You see, Pakistanis got stumped. But I would say now, compared to the killing of Burhan Wani, which got splashed. I was there. I could see those banners. I could see the kind of screaming and the kind of crowd which got pulled into the India riots and all that. That is not visible now. Though they made their noises, the media made noises, the Prime Minister said, the Foreign Minister also said something. But the fact is, it was much muted than what it was earlier. Because that time, I would say, if Pakistan was 7 and we were 10, now Pakistan is around 3. They don't have that kind of bandwidth, or they don't have that kind of strength to match with what is happening in India. So, be it diplomatically, be it economically, be it strategically, be it operationally along the border, they don't have oil for their tanks, for their trucks, for everything. When I was there, the petrol was selling at about 130 PKR. Indian currency was about 1.6 PKR, used to be 1 rupee, Indian rupee. Now 3.42 PKR is equivalent to 1 rupee. I would have been a millionaire had I been in Pakistan at this time, because you see, 3 times more. That time, if I used to spend $1,000 to have a lavish kind of a lifetime there, now I will do it with $500 and a better lifestyle, because the inflation is so much, 37 to 40% of inflation. So the fact is that they have taken it as a fate.
Okay.
The second thing which has happened is that there has been a groundswell against Pakistan in Gilgit-Baltistan. You see it every day. And in POK, where they say open the routes, we want to get back to Indian side, because they are the ones who are peaceful. They are the ones who are having the progress which is happening. They see the winds of change are happening, and more so because when they see that the same relatives, they have links that side also, and they see the kind of progress and the kind of openness which is happening in our part of Kashmir, definitely. So if this, I'm forgetting his name, but that Gandhi or someone whose head was beheaded and very close to the LOC, now who would have done it? If not our operatives or someone, it could be the locals there who didn't want this kind of terrorist activities or skirmishes to take place in their neighborhood, because they were scared that there will be a kind of a backlash. So I would say that the abrogation of 370, they've given up. Their response has been quite muted, but Pakistan continues to think how to pull down or how to break up India. So we should now be sitting on our haunches and saying, no, everything is fine. Now let's build a relationship. No, not till we see visible facts on ground that they are reigning in, and which not even one indication towards that is there. The terrorist camps are still full. The border is peaceful because they don't have the ammunition or the oil or to take panga with India. The no one listens to them. They are a basket case. They're going around with their begging bowl everywhere. US is putting pressure because China is taking a little kind of a back step, because they feel that maybe dealing with Nepal is easier than dealing with Pakistan, because they have to look at their own security within Pakistan.
Taking off from there, what do you think is the Chinese, let's say, outlook to the Pakistani election? If they're also very keen that their own man comes in, or if not a political man, maybe the army will be more easier to deal with. What do you feel about it?
Pakistani soldiers sold to the US for the first 50 years. And they are groveling and selling their soul to the Chinese maybe for the next 50 years. But the Chinese have now also realized that the CPEC is not going to happen the way they were envisaging. Because of the problems which are there in Balochistan, because of the internal security situation there, because of the kind of groundswell within the country against Chinese, because all the fertile land of Punjab, which was growing rice or gundam, what they call it, wheat, is being converted to grow, slowly being converted to grow what is needed in mainland China rather than here. So they feel that they are not getting their money worth here.
But they've invested a lot in this.
Invested a lot, but there is a kind of
retraction.
Earlier they used to be talking of 60 billion dollars or money into CPEC. Now they come back into 26, 30 billion because there has been a kind of a retraction. They have realized that things are not going to go hunky-dory the way they would have initially thought. A lot of BRI projects all over
Yeah,
Only Bangladesh, Myanmar, Italy, so many places.
they have been cut.
And they are also being...
Yeah.
So there is a kind of pushback. And I feel the Chinese always realized that it is easier to deal with the generals.
Yeah.
It gives them a little more continuity. And it is easier to, say, bribe a general in Pakistan. One box full of greenbacks or a few other Chinese goodies would make him more payable. While if they do that, they don't know whom to give because he may not be there after 6 months or 8 months. So they would want to deal with the generals. And like last 7, 8, 10 years, you would see that the first visit which Army chief makes is to 3 countries. The timing would vary, but within the first 3 to 6 months, he would have visited China, he would have visited Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and he would have visited Turkey. This is something which he will do. And then he would be looking to visit maybe the US or the UK. And of course, Imran Khan did the mistake of visiting Russia. He not only angered the US then, but also when he denied, when he said absolutely not on the national TV, I will not give them drone bases to USA. No one was asking it, but he was wanting to still. So that all that happens, but the fact is, Chinese also understand that if they have to deal with Pakistanis, it is better to deal with the generals.
Right. Last question. The question is, we have bad relations, and we've been having bad relations. We've tried before, and we failed before, but the fact remains they remain our neighbors. So how do you see this relationship improving? Any initiative possible from the Indian side, especially, let's say, tomorrow Nawaz comes into play?
You see, the DNA will not change. The psyche will not change. They won't want better relations with India because they are neighbors. They won't want better relations with India because of the pressure which is being created from other places, because of their economic problem. We shouldn't fall into that case. This track 2 diplomacy, 2.5 diplomacy, all that can continue. But we have to be in real politics, and to safeguard our national interests, a stable Pakistan is not good for India. Unstable and a fractured Pakistan is good for India. I would say a landlocked Pakistan is good for India. If I have my way, I would want most part of Balochistan to go with Iran, most part of KPK to go with Afghanistan, Gilgit-Baltistan and POK to come to India by internal kind of a surge, and in a peaceful manner. And maybe I'm okay if Sindh, which wants to, the Saraiki belt and the Sindhu Desh, all that movement, they want to re-merge with India. But I think why should we, as it is?
We have our own problems.
We have our own problems. We don't want to create a fault line. So if we have a landlocked Pakistan, which is only their Punjab, I'm very happy.
Right,
2,800 kilometers of border, I will keep them in check. And it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm looking much beyond. I'm looking at the global stage. What is puny Pakistan? But for that, we need to fracture it.
Okay, thank you so much. I think there were some diabolical ideas that you have expressed. And thank you so much, General, for having joined me.
It says that, of course, this is my personal view. It is not the government view and all. But I, having served there for 3 years, realize I also went with woolly ideas to Pakistan that we must make friends and let's start with training, let's start with UN mission that we work together. I worked with them in UN mission together. The North Kivu Brigade was us, the South Kivu Brigade was Pakistani. We were friends. They used to come and have parathas in our mess. They would come and they'll ring me up, Chief of Staff, sir, can we come and have parathas? Yes, we used to think and talk alike. But the same people I met there won't even look at me. So much was the scare of the IS.
Exactly.
But the fact is that the commoners don't matter. And the establishment survives and thrives on anti-India ideas. So if that is going to remain in the foreseeable future, and when we talk of breakup of a country, if USSR can break, so can Pakistan, so can India. If we don't get into our fault line correction mode, so it can happen. And there are inimical powers which are largely also in Pakistan who would want to see India being fractured.
Thank you, General. I think that was a very frank expression of whatever views you hold, and a lot of them are quite practical. I won't talk about doable, but definitely practical views. And you've experienced having dealt with them extensively in your tenures. Thank you so much for having joined Bharat Shakti.
Thank you so much. It was an honor, and I look forward to more such interactions as and when you want me to have a counter kind of a view. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, viewers. Thanks for tuning in to BharatShakti.in. Do tune in like this now and again, and you will find interesting stories presented by professionals in the field. Thank you.